Hello and welcome to this JavaScript plus HTML and CSS lesson. In this lesson, we are going to create a custom progress bar that will display the same in all major browsers. You'll notice in HTML5 we have the progress element that was introduced, but it looks totally different in each browser. First, we are going to demonstrate how different it looks on each browser. Then, we are going to create our own, like the one displaying on the screen, that we can use in our JavaScript programmed applications. So, we are going to move to Notepad++, and we are going to create a HTML document. So we are going to put progress, then we give it a maximum value of 100, minimum value of 0, and the value of, let's give it 35. So let's save this file. We're going to save it as custom .html. So we preview this in Firefox. Now we're going to see the diversity. They all look different, you see. We preview this file in IE. You see, totally different. Then we preview this file in Chrome. You see, they all look different. You can see this is IE, this is Chrome. They look different, and that is not good for developers. So I'm going to show you how to make a custom one that you can tie to all your other applications like file upload, anything. So we are going to start with a basic HTML document, and we're going to use two divs. So we're going to create a div. We're going to give it an ID of progress, and in this div we are going to give it, we're going to add another div. We're going to give it an ID of track. Now these are the two divs that we are going to use. This one will be the track that shows the value, the new value, whenever there's a change, okay? So in order for us to see, if we went back and refreshed the page, see there's nothing displayed. So we're going to use CSS to style these two elements to give them some appearance, okay? Some good looks. So style. So we are going to style the div with the ID of progress bar. We're going to give it some properties. Width, we're going to give it 300 pixels. Height, we're going to give it 14 pixels. And border radius, we are going to give it 8 pixels. Now let me explain what everything does here. This gives the bar a width, this one gives it a height, and this one gives it rounded corners, okay? So let's give it a background color of black. Now let's preview this in a browser and see where we get, you see, we get this black div with rounded corners. Okay, now inside this div we want this other div to appear. Okay, so we are going to copy all this and now change this to the div with the property of track. Okay, we are going to have them having the same width, the same height, the same border radius, but different color. Let's give this one a white color. Okay, and we're going to give this one a padding of 2 pixels so that we can see the difference. Okay, now the width of this one, we won't give it 300 so that we can see, so let's give it something like 200, and we'll go back to the browser, refresh. You see it appears in between like a nice good progress bar. Okay, so we have styled it. Now let's go now to JavaScript, where I'm going to show you how to program it. Okay, so this one we're going to give it a width of 0 pixels. By default it should start at 0. Okay, so let's go create a script tag. We want our script to run after the web page has loaded. Okay, so we are going to use an event listener on the window, the load event. Whenever our document has finished loading, that's when you want to start running this JavaScript. Okay, so we're going to add a window we're going to add an event listener to the window, and the event we're going to listen to is load, and we're going to call this function. Okay, the use capture, let it be false. So whenever the window loads, we want this function to run. So copy that name and we type function takes no arguments. So this is the function that is going to make that bar run on its own. Okay, to be automatic. So what we're going to do, we're going to declare some variables, var, using the var keyword. The first variable we'll call it prog, and we'll set it to 0. What this variable does, for now, because we are going to use, we are not going to use any file upload mechanisms, we just want to put it at 0. It will give the width of the track, and the track, remember, is the div that is inside the progress bar. Okay, so by default we want it to be 0. Then we are going to declare another variable called progress bar and another one called track. We are going to use these two variables as object references for this div and this div. Okay, so after the window has finished loading, that's when we are going to assign value to this. Okay, so progress will be equal to document by ID progress bar. The same thing for the track. Track will be equal to document.get element by ID track. Okay, so by now we have object references for our divs, so we can control them using JavaScript. Now we are going to be changing the width of this track dynamically using JavaScript. Okay, so we're going to say track dot style dot width is equals to this progress plus percent. Now we're giving it a percentage width, okay, so that it will determine the width as a percent of the total width of the progress bar. Okay, so it will be this value plus percent. Then right below that one, we're going to increment the prog by 5. Okay, so we're going to say plus equals 5. Then because we want this to keep running, we're going to assign to call this function after every 1 second so that it can progress live. So we're going to put set timeout, and this is the function that is used to call a function. Is used to call a function after some amount of time. So we want it to call this function, the function with that name, after this amount of time, and this means 1 second because this is in milliseconds. So 1000 milliseconds is equals to 1 second. Okay, so let's go back to the browser and see. So you can see it is progressing just the way we wanted. Okay, so let's see. Now as you can see, when it reaches 100% width, it goes beyond, and you can see it has gone beyond. So we don't want that. Okay, so to prevent that, we're going to add a simple if function which checks if this prog is greater than 100. We want to reset it to 0. Okay, so that it is another additional logic. Refresh. Now this time when it gets to 100, it will be turned back to 0. It will not go beyond that 100. So that's a very simple script. You can see very little CSS, very little JavaScript, and it's working so well. Okay, so instead of using the default progress bar, you could use such a mechanism, putting a div inside a div, so as to achieve uniformity in all browsers. Let's now run that same code in Firefox. You see, it looks exactly the same in Firefox. Let's also run it in Internet Explorer. Allow blocked content. You see, it looks exactly the same in all major browsers. So we do not need to use the HTML on progress because it will not look the same in all browsers. Okay, so that's it for now. You can see very short script. So that's it for now. See you next time.